Good morning. How are we? I'm so happy to be with you today. I just celebrated my 30th year as an entrepreneur and a maker. And as Janae was mentioning, the core focus and passion and power of my work has been to help women and girls feel more seen, heard, and understood. And so I've been talking about confidence for a long time, and I'm so happy to be talking about confidence in this space today. In 2004, I was privileged and blessed to be able to help launch the Dove Campaign for Real Beauty, which we know then has set off a revolutionary conversation about beauty around the world. But what you might not know is that Dove is also the #1 distributor of free self-esteem curriculum in the world. And to date, right now, we have reached over 115 million women and girls around the world. And by 2030, our plan is to hit 250 million young people and build their confidence. And you are gonna play a role in that today. We know that building confidence is at the heart of what we do, and I'm so excited today to explore a new offering that we have, a curriculum called Body Confident Sport. It's the first of its kind, and if you don't know this, we all do evidence-based, academically validated programs that are guaranteed to help build girls' body confidence in sports. And so our motivation for this actually is a little sobering, if I'm gonna be honest. Some of the stats and insights that bring us to this work is that of the girls, if you think about a girl in your life right now, of the girls who drop out of sports, 48% of those girls will drop out because somebody has told them they have the wrong body type for that sport. So we have a lot of work to do still, and we're gonna talk about what we're doing today. And I couldn't, and we couldn't with Dove do the incredible work we do without partners. And I have one of those partners with us today. She is the CEO and chairwoman of the National Women's Football Conference. She is a 7-time national champion in tackle football, a USA gold medalist and Hall of Famer, and of course, she is a fierce advocate for helping women and girls stay in sports.
Young girl body struggles that I deal with were all about how muscular my body was. Every body type belongs in sports.
Everybody, please help me welcome Odessa Jenkins! Hello, Mrs. Odessa Jenkins.
Hey, friend, how are you?
I'm really good.
Good.
I'm really good, and I want to dive in to the work that we are doing together and the work that we're doing with Dove to help girls stay in the game. And before we get to that, though, I want to talk about you, Maker, and I want to talk a little bit about what your life was before this moment where we're sitting on this stage and having this conversation. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you as the younger version of you, a woman in a male-dominated industry?
Yes.
When did you first discover football?
Yes.
And what did it ignite inside of you when you did?
Yeah, so first of all, I am at home. Shout out to LA. I'm a kid from right down the street in Watts, South Central LA. But for me, sports, when you say sports has the power to change lives, for me, sports immediately gave me something that I would never, ever let go of, and that was the ability to connect to other people.
Yeah.
And I was always the kid walking around town with all the boys, always had a ball in my hand, and so I fell in love with football the first moment that my family put a football into my hands. And that took me, Ray has taken me around the world, that journey has taken me around the world, but that journey has also had me face some of the things that I have seen about what is the core ideal of beauty, what is the core ideal of an athlete. And as I started to look at myself and look at others, because that's what we get taught to do. We get taught to compare the way we look to others. Initially, it was to the boys. I was smaller, I was shorter, right? I had less muscle. And then it was to the girls. I have too much muscle, I'm too short. It was all these things. And so it really took key mentors in my life to help guide me through this passion and love that I had for sport, but also this challenge that I had with feeling like I was different because of the way I looked.
Yeah, and out of all of those words and feedback, unsolicited feedback that we often
I didn't
get,
ask.
just
I
about
didn't ask.
our existence in the world, Did you ever have to struggle with absorbing that as your own narrative, as your own internal voice?
Yeah, absolutely. I was lucky enough to be someone that could achieve things with my body through sport. I was an elite level athlete. But that always made me face being on a stage. And when I was on a stage, I would hear things like, you know, I'm too masculine or I'm too this. And it was always related to what I looked like. Like, say I'm too fast. You know, you jump too high.
Right.
Thanks. Right? It was
Yeah.
always related. And so whether from the very beginning as
Yeah.
well, right? From the very beginning of my athletic sort of journey, it was you are the girl who looks like the boy. You are because you are strong, because you have muscles, that's not feminine enough. And that never stopped
Yeah.
through professionalism. And it's something that I had to learn how to conquer
Yes.
as I became
Yes.
who I am today.
And I think all of us sitting here can think, whether you're a professional athlete or not, all
Right.
of the narrative that we've picked up from what people have dropped on us that then become our internal dialogue.
Well, the idea that the beauty of sport is based on what we can do, not on what we look
That's
like
right.
when we're doing it, is the thing that sort of changed my life.
We're going to talk about this specifically, but this is also why I love that we're kicking off today, because I want to talk about the specific interruption moments that makers can have in the world. And I mean makers as people we meet, as you know, the relationships that we bear. So when you think about who stood for you, who spoke for you, who helped breathe that kind of passion life into you, who were those people? Who did you encounter that really saw Odessa and kept you on that track?
Listen, makers, mentors, sponsors, coaches, parents, you are important. You are the lifeline to girls and women. I would not be here leading if my mother first, if my aunts second, if my coach, Michael O'Connor, I'll never forget him. He was the first person that told me that what you can do is special.
Wow.
You are special because of what you can do for this team. And that has changed everything about our school, our outcome. And it made me feel special.
Yes.
And that was the 8th grade. And I took that. And then my coach, Marcia Foster, in college, she was the first short-haired black woman that I'd ever spent time with. And this was right after I shaved my head. And I'm like, I don't want to have hair anymore. I just don't want to.
And you were in 8th grade?
No, at this point, I'm 19.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't want to have hair anymore. It gets in the way of sports. And she was the first woman that I'd met that made me feel like, you know what? It's okay to do that if that's authentically you, because it doesn't change who you are. And OJ, it doesn't change the way you make me feel, the power, the fire that you bring to the world. And it sure as hell don't change the way you ball.
Right.
So those are the people.
Yeah. Marcia, Mr. Michael.
Yep, Michael O'Connor, Marcia Foster.
So it's interesting because the 12-year-old in me is sort of giggling that I'm in this spot having this conversation, because I was not an athlete growing up. And in fact, the body talk that we are working on in this curriculum, I was a performer and a young girl interested in performing arts. And I remember a middle school theater teacher telling me, like, you'll never be pretty enough to be a leading lady. And I sort of embedded, right? And so, and other comments all throughout my life growing up. And I think about how words are weapons or they can give you wings. And we do this so flippantly with young people in our life, right? We don't think about that. Believe me, I've done a lot of therapy work on that middle school teacher. And I got to meet him later on down the road and kind of just, but I think for me—
What'd you do to him? I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. That was nonviolence. No.
I still have that restraining order, but no. For me, it was about recognizing that the adults who also impart words like that are struggling with their own wounds.
Absolutely.
And their own words and kind of disconnected pieces of their childhood. And this is why I love the work that we get to do with young people at all stages of their life, although this curriculum in particular is for 11 to 17-year-olds, and we're going to tell you more about that in a second. But I wanted to get into it, because I say curriculum, and if you're not in the education space or if you haven't experienced it, it sounds kind of wonky and up here, but let's bring the curriculum to life a little bit.
Yes.
Because could you imagine getting coached on your body confidence by Odessa?
Let's go. Y'all ready? Let's do it. I'm with it.
Let's do it. Actually, yeah, we're gonna do a workshop right now. No, I'm just kidding. But let's actually bring this to life a little bit. So when we say the premise of this work is actually about combating and understanding body talk. So let's define what body talk is.
So body talk is simply the discussion of appearance, negative or positive, right? So it's the idea that we're talking about what we look like instead of talking about what we can do, right? So it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Body talk is the discussion of appearance, whether negative or positive, because some people think, well, if we're saying good things,
Right.
then it's a good thing. You'll build confidence, and that's not always the case.
Well, and also I think we tend to, as we've been brought up in our culture and society, and we prioritize a very particular image of beauty, we tend to sort of, give a compliment that we think is a compliment anyway, based on an idealized view of beauty. And as you mentioned earlier, not the person you're actually talking to.
Well, so it's all centered in an ideal, right? Like we all know growing up, through the work, Dove has been tremendous about finding a center for beauty that is not based on the world's ideal.
That's right.
Right? That is based on what women feel about themselves and think of themselves. And this curriculum is based in the same thing. It's saying, yes, there's this athletic ideal that girls are being told every single day, that in order to be an athlete, you must look this way, you must be this slim, you must have this level of muscle, but I'm a football coach. My best player is 6'2", 310 pounds. And and Tammy don't play with nobody. You know what I'm saying? And when you talk to her about beauty, you better say her first name with a capital T. You understand?
Right.
And she's the most athletic, one of the most athletic people I've ever seen in my life. And Sarah Clark, my left tackle, 6'2", 206. Like these things. This idea of the athletic ideal being based on numbers and what you see with your eyes is really what Body Talks is there to combat.
Yeah.
Because that is what's stopping girls from staying in sports.
Well, let me just do a quick poll of you all sitting here right now. How many of you have stopped doing something? It could be sports, it could be something else, based on how you feel you look. Just show of hands. Right. Whatever that appearance anxiety is, and this is why we're starting in sports, but clearly the message is universal.
It is.
Because we will stop ourselves. And I want to pretend now that I'm a girl in your program. We're doing a program. So an example is what? So all right, we're going to get up. I can feel this coming right now. Hold on. So I'm a girl in your program, and I'm telling you, okay, Miss Odessa, I can't try out for that team. I'm too fat.
Well, listen, so first of all, I want to say you're perfect. You're awesome. The fact that you're trying shows me that you have courage. And courage and bravery is what makes great athletes. But let's start at the outcome you want to get to, right? You want to make that program.
Yes.
In order to make that program, you're going to have to run fast. You're going to have to know your skill. You're going to have to study. That has nothing to do with what you look like. What you look like won't be the reason that you don't get in. What you do and how you train your body and how you function during that tryout is how you will get in. Let me tell you this. We're gonna do nobody. This is a body talk free zone. In order to get
What does that mean?
Body talk free zone means that you will no longer talk about being fat, being skinny. When you talk to me as your coach, you're gonna talk about what you're doing with your body and how you're listening to your body to get to the outcome. Deal?
Yes.
And every time you talk about what you look like or you talk about being fat or being skinny, we're going to do a push-up together to show us what our body can do. Okay? So we owe ourselves what? We owe ourselves a push-up right now. Okay? Because we're going to show each other what our body can do. Let's go. One strong push-up. That's right. We're going to do two. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Thank you, Coach.
You can do anything. Anything. Everything is possible if you tell yourself so. Okay? All right.
Nothing a little pep talk and 2 push-ups won't fix.
But no,
also,
what I
did not exactly wear the right blazer.
No,
for
you
that
didn't.
moment,
No, you
but
didn't.
I'm just gonna
Sorry,
say
sound,
made it. We
sound-
made it.
We're sorry, sound humans. But no, what we did there was, confidence is the belief that everything's just going to work itself out. And what I think we teach in this curriculum, but what we teach in general, is not that confidence is not. It's going to come with adversity, right? Confidence is going to come with pushback. It requires bravery. In
That's
order
right.
to get bravery in our girls, we must have tools. We must teach habits. That's all this is. If you're going to be brave, if you're going to be courageous, so you can be confident, you need tools. And a lot of us as girls never had the tools.
Absolutely. No, and in all seriousness, I think if that interception, you like that football term? Thank you.
Come on.
I'm a sports girl now. But that interception of that moment, right, of the negative self-talk, would have gotten me out of my head and into my body. And this is what I think is so powerful about body autonomy and teaching young girls and women, and all of us actually, to feel our body's power.
Yes.
And the privilege to move it in whatever capacity you can move your body in. But that interruption
Yes.
of that moment is what it looks like, whether you're a coach or a parent or a teacher, or by the way, a stranger, because I can meet a woman, and hopefully this doesn't happen today, but I can meet a woman anywhere in the bathroom. We can talk about the size and shape of our thighs without ever knowing her name. Do you know what I'm talking about? I will meet you in the bathroom, and I will know a lot about how you feel about your butt before I know anything else about you. And so what I
Yes.
love about this work is that while it is designed for coaches, it is also designed for adults who have, young people in their lives. Like
Yeah.
if you're a teacher, a Girl Scout leader, anybody who wants to impact that wisdom.
My favorite part about this program is that it was designed with coaches in mind. And all of us at some point are coaching ourselves or coaching each other. And it all starts in grounding yourself in what you can control.
That's right.
And I think that's what if you
Yeah.
see, like that might have looked like a game, but it wasn't. I was going through the curriculum with you. I grounded
That's right.
you in body talk. I started you in what you can control and what I wanted you to stop.
Yes.
Right? And then at the end, it was playful, it was fun, but I was also showing you what you could do with your body.
And you gave me word replacements, which I
Yes,
appreciated,
yes.
because what I will say is like the language of fat that we all tend to speak, and that language of beauty ideals is what we need to interrupt and
Yes.
connect to. Okay, I want to ask one quick transition question around the world that we're living in today for athletes, right? Because
Yes.
I'm thinking about the time that you grew up playing sports,
Yes.
the impact of social media. We've had incredible younger athletes in our world today, be it Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles, Alona Mayer. These are wonderful athletes who've been very outspoken about their relationship to mental health and well-being. And we know that we're living in a 24/7 feedback loop of not only our performance as an athlete, but also our appearance. And so what do you make of the world younger athletes are coming up in today, where they have to be a brand kind of from word one, and their bodies and their performance belongs to the public?
Yeah, and so I think, the first thing is ownership. I think you have to teach girls ownership. Ownership of their bodies, ownership of their minds, that they are the owners of those things first. And whenever I'm teaching brand, like if I'm doing an NIL course, it's the first thing I teach athletes, is you are the owner of that brand. Sure, you had to become a brand before you were ready to, but you own that authentically. Right. And what does that look like for you? I love what Coco's did, because she said, you know what? Me taking care of my mental health is a part of my brand. So if I'm scheduled to do something and I don't show up, and I didn't show up because I'm having a mental health day, guess what?
That's part of my brand. Yep.
On brand. And when you own that as an athlete, as a woman, as a teacher, then it becomes a part of who you are. And frankly, we all are just fearing reactions of other people, right? Whether it be on the internet or be in person. Yeah. And you have less fear when you control what you can.
I 100% agree. I also think we teach media literacy skills right now, which is really important, because this is the reality that we're navigating. But we are the CEOs of our own media empires in this way, right? We have the ability to, in those same words or weapons or wings, we have the ability to impact the people around us. And I think by leading by example, they end up impacting.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you one question, and then I'd love to go to you all and see where this is landing for you and what questions you have as well. But I want to give us one more stat, if you're the kind of person who needs numbers to validate this, but these numbers are really shocking. There are 69% of girls that say that they would have been more body confident if they would have stayed in sports. So we're at this really interesting balance point, right, of helping them stay in sports longer. Yes. And it's not to become a professional athlete. No. It is to reap the reward and benefit, right, of being in your body, playing with a team, understanding team dynamic. So as we're sitting here today, we're kicking off this day, you have this beautiful room of makers. What is one thing that you want them to think about, whether they're in the athletic field or not, in sharing this message with girls?
I think as it relates to confidence itself, it all starts with you. And I think if you are here because you want to create something, you want to inspire something, you have to know that the habits of women become the actions of girls. And this all starts with how you feel about you. The 3 core principles of this curriculum are, what are you saying to yourself? So think about that first. What are you saying to yourself? How do you talk to yourself? What are you doing to show you that you are fabulously functioning in your body? And third, are you listening to yourself? So if I could tell you to take one thing with you, it is that you own it. Somebody is watching, and the first person that is watching is you. Take care of yourself, and that's how you'll build confidence. Because confidence is ultimately the belief that everything's going to work itself out, and you have to believe that first.
You told me something when we were prepping for this quote that we want to put on a T-shirt.
Oh, it's
Do you remember?
No, was it, which one? Because I'm like
you
a
were
walking
so brilliant, you forgot. No, it was like what
soundbite.
women do, girls will follow, right?
What women do, girls, I think it was what women do, girls will follow, right? So it's like, I think we think it's too late sometimes. I sit in a room of executive women all the time, and they're thinking, okay, I'm leading a company, I'm doing these things, it's too late. Someone is always watching, and that first someone is you. And your habits, your actions will become someone else's habits or actions. Full stop.
Absolutely. All right, one more question before we go to Q&A. Because I imagine everybody in this room is navigating, and I know we're going to talk about this in various elements today, we're navigating little fatigue, little culture fatigue right now, little life fatigue, right? And we're going to talk about joy not only as a beautiful act of resistance, but as an end result of doing some of this really good work around confidence. But I want to know from you, how does joy and community and the lessons that you've learned from being an athlete and a coach, how does that transfer to the non-sports part of your life?
Oh, it is rooted. Everything that I do is rooted in most of the things that I've learned in sport. And it's too much to share, but the one thing today that I think is important is rest. Rest. The power of rest. We talk about self-care all the time. Read a book, listen to some music, get your jam on, let yourself rest. Take a break.
And you don't have to do anything to deserve that rest.
You don't have to earn rest. It is a part of the machine, okay? It is a part of the mission, too. In order to get to where you need to be, you have to bake in rest. You have to bake in some time. Now, we all different. I might need 5 minutes. And you might need 50 or vice versa, but you need to find whatever it is for you that means rest. Yeah. How do you define rest and get to it regularly? Great athletes, the greatest in the world, rest. Great executives have to find it. So I would tell you that.
Agreed. All right, we're going to throw up the QR code, I think, at some point so that if you are interested in this curriculum, if you want to, there it is. Yes. If you want to use it, share it, spread the word. And we'd like to hear from you. Where does this land for you today? What are some thoughts or questions or feedback? I know today is really a day designed to be in discussion together, even though we're sitting up underneath these lights. So thoughts, questions, ideas? Athletes in the room who want to reflect. I see you. Hi.
Hello, is it on?
Hello.
All right, it's working. Hi, I'm Dr. Kennedy Garcia. By day, I'm a healthcare leader for the largest HMO in the country.
Amazing.
And by night, I'm the leadership coach for Miss Universe, Miss America, and a ton of pageant systems where we deal with confidence and body issues all the time, right?
Okay.
The question that I have for you is, what advice would you give girls who are aspiring to either be coaches or athletes or anything that they've dreamt of, but someone has told them that they're not able to do that, and they just haven't found their own way to it yet?
I think it's hard to, first of all, you better go. Okay, you're gonna read off all that, and we're not gonna clap.
You better make you do a push-up in 3, 2, 1.
You better go, girl. You better go, sis. Congratulations for all you have achieved. But what I would say is habits. I think it first starts with habits, right? If you are trying to get somewhere and you have so many blockades in front of you, whether they're mental blockades because the people you love that care about that are under influence are telling you you can't, you got to go back to the system sometimes. And what are your habits? A part of those habits would be, what do you tell yourself so you know how to combat what other people are telling you? But it's also, how do I get to where I want to be? What are the habits that get me there? Whether it's Miss America or whether it's being an Olympian, there's habits that become a system that then get you the outcome.
Love it.
Thank you.
Yes. Who else? Yes, I see a hand over here.
Hi there, my name is Lori Fair.
Hi, Lori.
Hey.
I'm a former U.S. national team.
Yeah, you are.
Let's go. I'm sorry. I'm
national
screaming, my
soccer
bad.
player. I work in global health now, but I also work as a sport envoy for the State Department on a volunteer basis, right?
Okay.
And both my twin sister and I are here. She's a pediatric surgeon.
Oh my gosh.
A
Also played on
pediatric
the national
surgeon.
team. And
That's
But we
incredible.
both have 2 young boys each,
Okay.
right? And in this conversation, like, our young boys, they look at Angel City and they're
That's
like,
right.
those are my role models, right?
Yes.
How do we take this conversation around this
Yeah.
and take it
boys.
to our, like, kiddos,
Yes.
whatever gender
Yes.
spectrum they're on?
Yep.
How do we take that conversation and bring them in as co-conspirators and allies?
That is the beauty of this
Yes.
curriculum. And I don't want to get back to curriculum because it's like, it sounds odd. But when you go to this site, it's going to, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Lori.
Lori, okay. Lori, when you go to this site, there's this coaches section that tells you how to coach this in athletes. You start there with how to coach it in your kids, like as parents. And Dove don't always want me to, but I give it to parents. I give it to parents,
ears,
teachers,
Sophia.
coaches, because I think sometimes your parents are your first
Yeah.
coaches. And so they need to know how to coach this confidence in you. But I think that's the way to get it to boys and girls is start with who's doing the teaching, parents, coaches, teachers.
I also want to add, first of all, Lori was a part of our U.S. women's national soccer team.
Let's go.
Yes, so I just want to say thank you.
Let's
Thank you for your service, Lori.
go.
But I want to say from a representation standpoint and message as well, I think what you bring up actually has a larger halo for what we're going to talk about
Yes.
today, because I know that we're focused on gender equity conversations and we're talking about girls and women here, but it is important for boys and all
Critical.
folks to be seeing other young women and girls and hearing and experiencing and playing with and understanding the power and the strength, and that this is not a net sum game between genders. And I think that's really important as well.
Super important, but how men and women talk to each other
Yes.
will dictate how boys and girls talk to each other. And so that's where I go way back to, if they don't have the tools, they're going to try to work it out themselves.
Right.
And so I believe in being prepared. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So if you want your boys to become men who aren't talking about what women look like when they're watching sports, they're talking about, oh my gosh, it's awesome that she can do that, then it has to start with some sort of system. And I
right.
think that if you start it nowhere, if you don't even start with the curriculum, if you want to start in one place with your sons, it is the body talk part. It is how do
Agreed.
we talk about sports in this house? And
Yes.
that'll solve it.
And who can play them and who's worth watching, and yes, I love
Listen,
that.
my son is a big 6'6" left tackle, and his mom was the best center in the history of women's football. He started not knowing that men played football. So
That is the best act of
Yeah.
microfeminism I have ever heard in my life.
yeah. He's like, can boys play football? I'm like, yes.
You're like, sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
What else is on your mind or in your hearts? I see hand. Hello, is that Nancy? Hey, Nancy. Okay, fantastic. We'll get you a mic. We have all of our amazing sports heroes in our world today.
Hi, I'm Nancy Harkness. I'm one of the first women executives in professional sports. And one of the questions I have is how, especially girls and women, put so much pressure on themselves to succeed, much more. They feel much more driven and more concerned about failure. how to get young girls to deal with and overcome failure, or even just to lose a game?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I think we've lost sight of fun. So whenever I look at failure, I look for fun. I think the communities that we've built for women and girls are so serious all the time. Guys who could go on the golf course, they get to go do their things and have fun. And when we get together and we think it's pristine, it's precision, it's like, let's have some fun. Practice is fun. You have me, I was coaching in the NFL. They had music out there, they're dancing, it's water bottles squeezing all over each other. I'm like, what is going on? And so I think for us, honestly, what we have to get back to is the wonder of sport for women and girls. We have to bless each other with the ability to know that this is fun. It's a child's game, and never lose sight of it. I think the other thing that is important to know in sports to get girls off of thinking that everything it's all or nothing is to appreciate the why. The thing in the middle, right? The dash. There's the beginning, there's the end, and there's the dash. And if we can teach elite athletes how to handle the dash and how to appreciate the in-between, then they'll be less concerned about outcomes and more concerned about what they're doing in the middle.
I love that. And I love being able to retire our connection to perfectionism when we're talking to girls and women. Like that is something we can absolutely interrupt and interfere.
Yes.
And teach us too that failure is that process, right? And confidence for me is not a destination, it's a journey. It's how we're getting there, right? And you're gonna have to have those bumps and moments along the way.
If first of all, if you're always seeking perfection, you're gonna rarely get there. We already know that, right? Nobody's perfect. Even the greatest in the world, nobody's perfect. And so the journey to how you get there is super important. And the journey I've learned, and it hasn't always been this way, but I've learned to coach fun. I've learned to coach that if this is the last moment we do it, you're all gonna remember it.
Using a failure both two of the best learning experiences.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and you
Yes.
can't avoid them. So it's like when I go to coach,
Correct.
I coach the things that are that I know how that help them handle what's unavoidable. I got to help you handle what's unavoidable. I don't need to tell you about failure because here it comes. I have to tell you about losses because here it comes, right? I have to tell you how to handle it once it gets there. I need to teach you and have you prepared for what's going to happen when you have this loss. And to me, it's critical to infuse joy and fun in everything you do.
I love that. I feel that is a wonderful way to wrap this part of the conversation. But before we go, Odessa and I want to leave you with a little bit of a reminder of the beauty and innocence of what happens before we learn about all the things we learned about today. This year we had a wonderful spot with Dove that played in the Super Bowl. And we want to share that with you now in case you if you've missed it. But it's also a really beautiful reminder for our younger selves of what the power and the passion and the unfettered enthusiasm and joy can look like before you knew what body image was. So let's take a look and take good care.
Thank you.